All right, let's talk about one of the most powerful tools in the marketing playbook, conjoint analysis. It's kind of the secret sauce that big companies use to figure out what you and I actually want. We're going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly how it works and, more importantly, how to not get it wrong. So, picture this. You're about to launch a new product. It's your baby, but its success depends on all these little decisions, right? Do you make it faster or give it a better battery? Do you go for a sleek design or just pack it with features? And of course, the big one, how much should it cost? If you guess wrong on any of these, well, you could be in a world of trouble. And that is exactly where conjoint analysis steps in. Basically, it's a super smart way of figuring out how people make decisions. See, it doesn't just ask, hey, what do you want? Because honestly, most of us would just say we want everything for free. Instead, it forces us to make trade-offs. And in doing so, it uncovers what we truly value. So how does it actually do that? How does it get to the bottom of what's driving our choices? Well, the whole idea is to mimic the real world. Think about buying a laptop. You can't have it all, right? You can't get the fastest chip, the biggest screen, the lightest body, and the cheapest price in one perfect machine. It just doesn't exist. So you make choices. You might give up a little speed for more battery life, or you might pay a little extra for a brand you really trust. That's a trade-off. Conjoint analysis just puts people through a series of these choices, and by watching what they pick, it figures out their real priorities. Now here's the thing. Because this tool is so powerful, it's also really easy to misunderstand. Over the years, some major myths have popped up, and even smart, experienced people fall for them. So let's just bust a couple of the biggest ones right now. Okay, myth number 1. This is the big one. Clients often think that a single conjoint study is going to spit out a perfect prediction of their market share. And I get it. They really, really want that to be true. But unfortunately, it's just not that simple. So here's the key distinction you have to get. Conjoint gives you what's called preference share, not market share. It tells you which option people prefer among the choices you showed them. But think about the real world. Market share is affected by advertising, how well known your brand is, where you sell your product, all sorts of stuff. Preference is a super important piece of the puzzle, for sure, but it is just one piece. And that brings us to the second big myth, that conjoint is some kind of magic 8-ball for pricing. Look, it is fantastic for understanding how sensitive people are to price, but you have to be so careful with how you read the results. Just taking the data at face value can lead you way, way off track. Just look at these 3 common patterns from pricing studies. Now, that third one, pattern C, is the one that gets people really excited. It looks like you've found this amazing group of customers who actually prefer to pay more. But listen, this is almost always a red flag that something is wrong with the study itself, not that you've found a gold mine. It's one of those classic, if it looks too good to be true moments. All right, this next part is, I think, the most important takeaway of this whole explainer. It's the single biggest mistake people make with conjoint, and it's where all the richest insights get totally lost. And that mistake is only looking at the average customer. So let's look at this super simple example. These are average utility scores for a product. You can just think of them as preference scores. Looking at this, the answer seems obvious, right? Black is the clear winner. Silver is fine. And tie-dye? Whoa, it's a total disaster with that big negative number. So you should never ever make a tie-dye version, right? Wrong. So wrong. Because that average is hiding the real story. On the left, you've got that simple, misleading average. But look at the picture on the right. That's the strategic view. You can see every individual person's preference. And look at tie-dye. It's all over the map. That big negative average is because most people really hate it, but a small, passionate group absolutely loves it. They want it more than anything else. If you only looked at the average, you'd completely miss that amazing niche opportunity. So how do we get this amazing, high-definition picture of every single person? Well, the magic behind it is a statistical method called Hierarchical Bayes, or just HB. You can think of it as the engine that takes conjoint analysis from these blurry averages to a crystal clear map of individual preferences. And you really don't need to be a stats whiz to get the idea. It's like the model is building a detective's profile for each person. It starts with a general guess about what people might like. Then it sees that person make a choice. That's a new clue. The profile gets a little better. They make another choice, the profile gets even sharper. By the end, the model has built this incredibly accurate picture of what makes that one unique person tick. And this leads to a really big shift in how you think. It teaches us that we should think about customers in terms of their tendencies, not as fixed types. Nobody is just a price-sensitive person all the time. They have a tendency to be price-sensitive, but that can change depending on the product, the brand, and the other choices they're facing. Okay, so let's bring it all together. We've busted the myths, we've seen where the real strategic value is hiding. So what are the rules of the road, and what's coming next? Here it is, your cheat sheet for thinking about Conjoint the right way. Remember, it gives you relative preference, it helps you understand trade-offs around price, but it won't give you one magic number. And please, please, please look past the average and explore the whole distribution. That is where the gold is. And this isn't even the end of the story. The future is already here, with new things like Conjoint Net. These models use AI and neural networks to find even deeper patterns, like how your preference for one feature might totally change based on what other features are present. The insights we're able to get are becoming more and more powerful every year. In the end, it really all comes down to this simple idea, which is captured perfectly in this quote from Google's Chris Chapman. Your gut feelings are important. Your instincts matter. But at the end of the day, betting against what your customers are explicitly telling you through their choices, that is a very, very risky game to play. Conjoint analysis, when you use it the right way, is one of the best ways to actually listen. It gets you beyond what people say and shows you what they do. So the real question for you is, now that you know the traps to avoid, how are you going to use these kinds of insights to really, truly understand what your customers want?